got it.
All right,
I
TJ,
got
you
it.
ready? You ready for
Zoom.
this?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm
All
ready,
right.
ready, ready. Hi, everybody.
Hey,
It
everybody.
is the Dead Air Horror Review Show, Horror Review Podcast. I don't know.
It's
What
all
it's
of it.
it
All of the
is
above.
whatever you want it to be. Uh and this week, I had to look up my Roman numerals because I didn't remember what VI was, and it turns out it's 6. We
Yeah.
watched Scream 6. Also, not for nothing, the title of this movie should have just been the number 6 and then like Scream, like because 6 kind of looks like an S. So that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Um, hot take. This movie sucks. It's real
Yeah,
bad.
it was
And
awful.
the only reason I it's my fault that we watched this, first of all. So
Yeah.
I absolutely hated Scream 5. Like I thought Scream 5 was our movies the it was like a Reddit the movie. Like it was just a bunch of people like literally talking like Redditors about movies. And I know Scream like has always been like meta contextual. Like that's like the whole bit. Like the original one was clever because it was like a breaking the fourth wall about like horror tropes and things like that, and that was clever. And then as the franchise, God, it's disgusting that these things become franchises. It became a meta inside the movie because
Yeah.
they made the
Stab, which
stab
was the
movies
movie within the
inside
movie.
of the universe of Scream. And in and of itself, that's not a terrible idea. Like there's a lot to mine there. The problem is, in my opinion, and the fifth movie and the sixth movie both suffer from this. They're not really interested in like examining like that or like any kind of deeper themes. They just rehash the same things over and over and over again. It's like we have to have the scene where they talk about the rules, and then we have to have the scene where they talk about breaking the rule. And it's like we've been through this already, man. You actually just went through this like a second
Last year.
time last like a year ago or whatever. Like I, I mean, and the thing is like I don't know how you felt, but like I I like absolutely despised like these characters. Like I felt them just like nails on a chalkboard. Like between like their pithy dialogue and just like their normal like conversational stuff was just so, but like I was like, who talks like this?
Yeah.
It felt like a 75-year-old man being like, what do college kids talk like? It just seems so
There was even a
disingenuous.
character named Chad.
Who
And
is, and they pointed out
they
later in the
did point it
movie,
out to their credit,
he's a
like,
literal Chad. Like,
yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah, it was bad on multiple levels, but I didn't see last year's Scream.
You
What would
kind
be
of
known
already
as,
watched it in a weird way. Six and
yeah.
five are almost interchangeable, in my opinion.
They made some references to the previous movie that I wasn't, since I didn't see the earlier one, I didn't quite understand.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's still easy enough to follow along. Like this movie is
Well,
very much
they
self-contained.
over explain everything.
Everything.
So
Yeah.
it's like, and also like this movie has like George Lucas syndrome where every character has to be related to somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, what is that writing trope where it's like everything is a fucking legacy? It's so, to me, it's very like cheap. Like I
Nothing
don't,
can be random or coincidental.
and nothing is like,
It
yeah,
has to be
everyone
attached.
has to be related. Even at the end of the movie, like the killers, spoilers. I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
But at the killers are even all related, and it's just like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
come up with another dynamic where these people are connected to each other, for God's sake. Like,
um
I
even they
just,
couldn't get the continuity right at
it was
times.
very goofy. Also, you had a very odd CGI'd Skeet Ulrich, however you say
Yeah.
his name, like pop
Yeah.
up in the. Is he dead in real life? Is that why they did that, or they just couldn't get him?
I think he's still alive, as
I
far as
mean,
I
yeah, his
know.
career is dead, but I was like, why? Because that was not him. I don't think. I think that was a weird CGI composite, or maybe his face just looks like that now. I don't know. Um, yeah, like
Yeah.
so
It
much
was,
of this dialogue was just so fucking cringy, and it was again, again, 5 and 6 to me are interchangeable because it's the same problem I had with the last one. The funny thing is this one The last one was annoying because they brought all of the old cast back.
Yeah.
Like you had all those people shoehorned into this, and then they only did that with like Courtney Cox in this one, but um
Courtney
now all
Cox
right,
didn't even have a like
she was horrendous.
she was bad in this, but what I thought made the Scream movies good, the previous ones, was the relationship between Gail and Dewey.
Yeah, it was fun.
And Dewey, yeah, Dewey's like, I feel like that's a character you need in this movie.
Well, you
Um,
need anybody to care about in
yeah,
this movie. I
nobody
could
nobody could carry this movie.
they
Nobody. There
don't
was not a single person that did.
I
Even
couldn't
Jenna
tell you.
Ortega, who I think is
She's
fantastic.
great. She's
Eh,
terrible in this. It's
yeah,
not her
it was
fault, but I
right.
mean the thing is like give me I couldn't describe any of the characters in this movie. They're all
Yeah,
literally interchangeable. Like at any point in the movie, I'm like, I don't know or care who any of these people are.
yeah,
Um, all right, now a lot of negative to start. Now I'm gonna give you some positives. I really like the opening. I really like the cold open. Thought it was
yeah.
really good. Also, Samara Weaving deserved better than this. I really like Samara Weaving a lot. If anybody hasn't seen it, go see Ready or Not. She's really good in that. That's like a fun, like sort of
Hold on, which
horror.
character was that?
That's the girl that gets murdered in the very beginning.
Oh,
Her
okay.
name's Samara Weaving. She's great, and she's great in a lot of stuff. But she's really good in this movie called Ready or Not, which I really like. And it was nice to see her pop up. But then, again, even that is the trope. Like they're, Drew Barrymore was in the first one, and she's just in it so she can get killed. So it's like the same thing. Even though, I mean, Samara Weaving, she's been in a lot of movies, but yeah, I mean, she's not like. I don't know. She's not like Drew Barrymore. I guess they couldn't
Yeah.
find anybody like in higher station at this point. They're like, oh well, Samara Weaving's hot, so we'll put her in there.
The violence,
Violence was
in and of
great.
itself was good.
The violence is really good. I thought that all the Ghostface like kill scenes in a vacuum were
Yeah,
really good.
yeah,
Um, but the problem is that the storyline tying them together was terrible. But like there was ideas like with some of the murder scenes and how they were staged. I thought like the direction for all those things were really well done. I just wish that the script was better. Like I actually thought like the scene where the killer goes after Gail, I thought that whole sequence was actually done really well. Now, of
mhm,
course, there's a lot of like I have a lot of problems with like Scream in general because again, like you're dealing with a person that's just a person. So like they're getting hit with fucking like pans and getting stabbed and shot and they're like fine. Like I like
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's a little ridiculous. Like I mean there's a part where the ghost well I get you find out at the end I guess there was two of them the whole time so who knows who it was maybe they were tagging out every time they got a concussion or something but like the one time the ghost face gets whacked with one of those like heavy wooden knife holders like if you got clobbered in the head with that like you'd have a severe concussion
yeah.
like I mean I know it's a movie and all and you just kind of like whatever but also there's one of the stupidest parts in the movie was Hayden Panettiere is in this movie for some
Hmm.
fucking reason. She was in Five. I totally forgot. Um,
Kirby,
and,
right? I think that was her
yeah,
character's name.
Kirby. At one point, they're like, "Oh, the killer's her," and it's like that woman is 5 foot tall. Like how like no like
Unless she's running around on stilts, like
yeah
it's
yeah.
completely unbelievable.
There's like this is a really weird tangent, but real quick, there was this character in Marvel Comics named Ronan, actually brought to life in the MCU by they made the Hawkeye character Ronan in the movies, but in the comics there was like a mystery as to who was Ronan, right? And it was so fucking stupid. They finally revealed who it was underneath, and it was this character Echo, who is this very slight woman. But like Ronan is this huge, jacked, like muscular. And they never explain it. They're just like, oh yeah, it was Echo the whole time. And then
Right. Suspend your disbelief.
they started to
Like you're already
redraw.
watching.
They
Yeah,
started
you're
to
already
redraw
reading a comic
Ronan
book. Like,
to
do you expect this to be real?
yeah. I mean, it's kind of the thing is like there's nothing more frustrating to me than a movie that's like scratching at something that's kind of interesting and like I like the whole idea of like a cult of Ghostface like right now we're in a time where true crime is like super, super popular. And I just watched a documentary, I think it was on YouTube or Vice or something, where they were talking about these like people that take true crime so serious they actually like try to like find cold cases and try to solve them, and how damaging it is because they're not they don't
They're not
do like
professionals.
procedures right and they
Yeah.
fuck things up. Like that is kind of interesting. But then it drags that through the mud because you find out the whole like cult of Ghostface thing was just a fucking scam. It wasn't real anyway. And it's like, well, damn it, that's interesting. Like I don't care about this like family legacy of whatever. Like
Yeah.
give me something new. And like again, I don't know. It's unfair to talk about the movie that you want other than the movie that you got. But to me, like you could do enough with the way social media influences people and how it has a command over people. Like I don't know, there's a kernel of an idea there, right? Like you know what I mean, instead of this weird like, oh, you're the daughter of the original scream killer and we're going to prove that you're actually a kid. Like what was that subplot?
Yeah.
Like what? Well, you were a well, you're a real killer cuz you killed our brother, but like our brother was actively murdering you when you killed it. Like what? Like, huh? Like, I understand, like, you know, it's the fucking Pam Voorhees like level of like disassociation, right? Like, well, you killed my boy, so I'm gonna slaughter like 75 teenagers. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't make a lot of sense. But in this movie, it's like it hit me over the head where I was just like, huh?
And
Like,
Dermot
what?
Mulroney, his character, the police officer.
That's who
Um,
that was? Oh god,
yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about a guy's face that doesn't look right anymore. Oh my god. Also, just putting it out there, he is horrendous in this
Yeah.
movie. He is so bad. And like there's so many lines in this movie. He's like, I'm a fucking cop. You can't steal a fucking cop car. Like, what the fuck? Like, I went like, if I was watching this in the theater, I'd have been like, cut. Like, is that the best take he got? Dermot? Like, what
Yeah.
the hell? I was like,
Dermot.
my name was Dermot.
I mean, there's only one, right? I feel like
I had
he's
no idea that's who that was. That
yeah.
fucked me up. Oh my god.
So if you take his character at face value, what a terrible fucking parent that guy is.
Which is
Like to
like
go on a
how?
murdering rampage with your children
Yeah,
for what?
for
Like
what?
for
Also,
what?
also this has like
Because you're
Saw. This has Saw levels of ridiculousness because he was able to buy this warehouse, get all this like stab memorabilia. Like
yeah.
who's maintaining all this shit?
Yeah.
Like what? Like, you know what I mean? Like
Just
what?
to lure them into this trap
It
that they've
seems
made.
it
It's
seems
so
needlessly complicated.
yeah.
Uh, yeah. I don't know, man.
This
Like
one was painful to watch. I spent three separate viewings trying to get through the 2 hours and 2 minutes, I think it was.
Uh, I'm
It,
glad you brought that up. This is also way too long. This movie should be an hour and a half. It
well,
at
you said
max.
yeah, you said it before. Like they spend too much time explaining everything. Like it's unnecessary.
Yeah, this story is not complicated. Like
Yeah,
you
but
don't need. Yeah,
they overcomplicate it by
yeah.
talking so damn much.
And
Uh
every character is a
yeah.
fucking. I swear, like every dialogue scene is an exposition dump. It's like okay, we get it, we get it.
Yeah.
And then like the most corny ass like audience manipulation bullshit where Chad and Jenny Ortega's character, whose name completely eludes me, they have like this budding relationship, and right before he gets murdered they like are about to kiss, and it's like, well, now he's gonna get stabbed, and then they don't have the balls to kill him at the end, which is fucking stupid. Like
Yeah.
they literally were just standing there taking turns like stabbing him like cross country skiing, and he survived. Like what? How? Like what?
Yeah.
Now who?
Listener, imagine this. Imagine you're on a Nordic track, an old school Nordic track, and your hands, each
Yeah,
hand has a knife. You are
that's what they were
literally
doing.
just
Yeah,
stabbing upward into that. That's what Ghostface was. They were stabbing, Nordic track stabbing
yeah.
this guy to death
with
who didn't even
giant ass
die.
with giant ass like Bowie knives.
Yeah.
Also, he didn't die. So presumably they left him just bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah.
So he was bleeding out for what? Like conservatively maybe like an hour, and he's fine. Like it was so weird to like keep him alive. Like what was the point? Also, uh technically Gail is still alive, which is also
It's
stupid.
so weird. Yeah.
It's like, why?
I
Like,
mean,
what do you
if she
keep it
is
of her?
still alive, she's has to be at least brain dead. Like she
Yeah.
was, she was. I think clinically, no, maybe she was. They did detect a pulse. Uh,
Yeah.
at
Al-
but um,
Also, Gail's gun discipline is. I know. I mean, this is a fucking. This is a trope in horror movies, but like, again, Ghostface is a person. If you have a gun and they have a knife, shooting him will not be a problem.
yeah,
And like she just does the dumbest shit. Like she just is like he makes a noise and she shoots past the door, and it's like, okay, like come on, man. Also,
yeah.
I will say another. I'll go back. I'm all over the place. I will go back to a positive. As absurd and ridiculous as the scene is, because I do have like the verisimilitude of the scene I have issues with. However, on its face, when Ghostface chases the two sisters into that convenience store and he just wrecks everyone in that store and kills the owner and has the shotgun, like very good scene.
Yeah.
Like that's a cool scene. Again, it's fucking absurd because this is just like in the middle of the street, like you know what I mean? Like and
Yeah.
yeah, they cops do show up eventually, but like I don't know, it's a little much, right? But like it was a cool scene. Like it did like again, the murder scenes in a vacuum. Like if you watch this on like YouTube with like top 10 ghost face kills,
Yeah.
pretty great.
Pretty
But
good.
man, the movie around it is just not good, like
Yeah.
at all. The like sequence where they're in the fucking subway train and it's like
I was just about to mention that when I mean like that's another trope, right? Like your masked killer is amongst other masked killers because it's Halloween, everyone's wearing
yeah.
costumes. Like who is it? I mean it's overdone. Um
Honestly, knowing what you know by the end of the movie. Now, again, like the movie is more interested in trying to give you some stupid twist. It would have been more interesting if they revealed at that point that the nerdy kid was one of the
yeah,
killers and he just stabbed her. That would have been interesting, and you wouldn't have seen that coming. Well, yeah, you kind of would because they fucking hammered it home that he
I
was the
know.
killer literally the entire time. They wouldn't shut up about it.
This
It
was
was
like
like
a thrice baked potato of a movie. Just like
that's a good way to put it.
it's just like, oh man, they fucking ruined it. Like it's just the one. So I don't know if you watched the show on HBO. It's called The Other Two.
No, no.
It's a really funny comedy. It's got Molly Shannon.
Oh, I like
I
her.
got the other, but the quote unquote sexy neighbor next
Yeah.
door. He's in that show and he's goddamn hilarious.
Really? He's
Yeah,
terrible in this movie.
I know, but he is so funny and he's so likable
Yeah.
in the other show. So when I saw him here, I was excited. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
wonder if he's gonna play that
Yeah.
same type of like dumb hunk character.
Yeah. No. He didn't play a
It's
character at all. I don't know what he was doing. Uh
yeah. He was always
speaking
running in at the last minute, like, hey.
yeah. Speaking of something that was funny, unintentionally funny, but this scene where they're trying to he throws the for some reason, by the way, this man has a 10-foot extension ladder in his apartment. I don't know why. Like, why would you have that ladder just handy?
Because if you
Uh,
needed to escape,
right.
um 10-foot ladder's not doing it for you when you're on the fifth floor.
I it was like the first when he pulled it out, I'm like, why does he have that? Anyway,
Yeah.
that scene was so fucking funny when the one girl is like she's first of all she's already like stabbed to hell, and she like, is climbing across the ladder, and then on the other side, Ghostface is just shaking it like that shit was funny as hell. He's like, come on, and like it's so stupid,
Uh
but like I couldn't stop. Like I was dying because he like they kept cutting to the go, and it's just something about the ghost face, that costume and him trying to shake a ladder. It was just oh my god, it was so funny. Also, like this
and he was
movie,
getting clearly more frustrated. Like, okay,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
he
he
didn't
was
shake her
getting,
off the first couple times, and he's
and then
getting
like
pissed.
the people there just on the other side are just yelling. They're not trying to like I don't know, maybe hold like put more weight on the ladder on their side to help her come across, or
Yeah.
maybe like reach out to her or something. No, they're just yelling and screaming and going no. And then then the fucking movie, like, oh my god. Like she falls, and for some reason the movie's like, we gotta stick with this. And like you see her fall and her head smacks against like a dumpster, and then you
Dumpster.
have to
Yeah.
see like the whole thing. It's like, I mean, again, I like gore, but like sometimes it's like, well, why did you need to put that? Like, did you
Right.
really need to put that fine a point on it? I don't know. I think what it
They should have
is
had her
like,
explode like a watermelon as soon as she
why
hit the
not?
ground.
I mean, why? Yeah, like no, it should have just been from the perspective of the ladder and then just blood everywhere. Um, I I love gore. Like, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's just like I feel like, especially these movies that are like weaker, I feel like they double down on the spectacle of it, because then they're trying to mask how bad the movie is, because they're just like,
Yeah.
well, you'll just remember like all the gore, or you'll remember the convenience. We run across this a lot of my other podcasts where we talk about like the movies that we remember from our way back when, and then we go back and watch them, and we're like, oh, like you don't remember the bad parts a lot
Yeah.
of times, especially like if you're like a normal person, you casually watch movies, like this movie might not even bother you that much, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are a lot of normal people out there that aren't like, fucking tearing apart every movie, and
And
that's also fine, but like, you know what I mean? They're just gonna remember like the violence, and they're not gonna even like the screenplay is like second to, like, they don't care. I feel like maybe I'm
they're
wrong. I don't
they're
know.
too far removed from what made this movie good in the first place.
Yeah.
I know for a fact my kids love like the first three. They think they're great. And it's like a family horror film that you can watch. Yes, it's violent, but whatever. Like
Well,
I'm
the
that
first
parent. I don't give a
they weren't particularly violent. Like they weren't like
yeah,
gory. I mean,
right. Well,
they
that's
like there
yeah.
was like stabbings and stuff, but like you didn't get like, I don't know. I have to go back. I haven't watched them in years,
This,
but I
this
feel
one
like
is
they
not a
weren't.
family. It's you can't. You're not watching this. It's not particularly funny. It's not
Yeah,
clever. It's not like you said. They try to make up with it, uh, with the gore, with
yeah.
the like extra violent scenes, and it
And
just
it's way gory. Like from
yeah,
the jump, it's
yeah,
way gory. Like the opening kill, like you stick with everything, right? Like when he kills Samara Weaving, it's like super violent, and you're sitting
yeah.
there watching him stab her and her like basically dying in front of you. Then like the other ghost face like kills his buddy, and he's like hacked up in the refrigerator,
That
like
was pretty
also
good.
like, I mean, it's like very violent, like
Yeah,
right off the bat.
yeah,
So
yeah,
but yeah, I wish like I know I'm not the first person to say this, but like maybe enough with the fucking franchises. Like
yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say like I didn't really need any sequels to Scream. Like Scream 1 is very good.
Right.
Uh I remember liking 2 and 3 was okay, but like you didn't need to ever get to Scream 6. If you told me in 1999 that you'd have Scream 6, I'd be like, why? And the proof is in the pudding, right? Like they don't have any ideas. They just keep like retreading and like, I don't, like, do something like way out of the box. I don't know. Do it from fucking Ghostface's point of view or something. Like
Yeah.
do something different. Like how many times do we have to have the same scene of like it's the scene from the first movie with who was that? Seth Green? Was that Seth? No. I don't know. Who is the I don't know. Who was the nerd in the first movie? I can't remember. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
But like we're
Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy, the
Yeah.
the Jamie Kennedy experience. Um yeah, I mean, it's the scene where like somebody should do a super cut of like in each of these movies they feel the need to have that scene where they sit down and explain the rules. This movie loves that scene so much they do it fucking twice. They do
Yeah.
it twice in the same movie because they do it once like in the outside of their school, and then they do it again right before the fucking train scene, and it's like, all right, man, like I get you love the scene, I get it, but like we've already established this information, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. Wes Craven's like fucking rolling around in his grave. I mean, but like God forbid we come up with any new ideas, right? Like this is the weird problem that we're in, where it's just like, and again, I'm not the first person to comment on this, and I won't be the last, but like they just anything that has any kind of established name, they're just going to keep trotting these out, and like they won't take a risk on anything new. I just saw the other day they're making it's not a horror movie, but they're making Lord of War 2. Like
Yep.
Lord of War is a perfectly cromulent fucking Nick Cage movie, but like
Yeah.
who's looking for that sequel? Like,
I feel like as long as they stand to make a couple million in profit, they're going to do it.
oh
And
yeah.
this, I'm going to drop a number bomb on you, and uh, you're not going to believe this. This
Go
is
ahead.
okay. So the budget for this movie was 33 to 35 million. Okay.
Which is insanely cheap these days.
Yes.
That is like bargain basement movies. Like 30 million used to be a mid-tier movie, but not anymore. That is like insanely cheap for a movie these days.
Yes. As of May 4th, this movie has grossed a worldwide total of $169 million,
Wow,
making
this
it
is a
the
huge
highest
hit.
grossing film in the franchise.
That's wild.
Isn't that crazy? I
That's
would have
well,
never guessed this would have been the one.
well, the funny thing is that like to me, this movie kind of came and it went. Like I heard a little, I like I said, I
Yeah.
generally heard people talking about this in a positive light, but like I never like there wasn't like a discourse around this movie. You know what I mean? Like it's so weird when these movies
The
like
only
that movie
thing I heard about it was the controversy surrounding Nev Campbell not being in it.
yeah.
That
Well,
was
I
the
she
only
may oh she didn't die in the last one. I thought maybe
no.
no,
They
she didn't die in the last one.
they wrote her off in this one by saying that after she heard of the recent murders, she took her family elsewhere into hiding, um so she didn't have to be involved. They made it real
Yeah.
simple.
I don't blame her. I mean, but like, what else is she doing either? Like,
Yeah,
that's wild to me that this was such a huge hit. I would have
I can't believe it.
never guessed.
Yeah. All right, TJ. So what do you give
Yeah.
it? I mean, we have
Uh,
so much more time to go, but I feel like it really doesn't deserve that much more of our time.
yeah, this is like one of those rare times where it's just like, yeah, I don't really have a lot to add.
Oh, you
It's
know
like a
what? Before we get to that,
sure.
you had touched on something before, and I think it would be the perfect opportunity to do so. You also have another podcast. I think this would be a perfect time to plug it. Go ahead, plug
Yeah,
your other podcast.
yeah, it's called Movie the Podcast. And I usually post the episodes every either Thursday or Friday.
Where can they
And
be found?
they can find it on Spotify and all the other podcast aggregates. But yeah, it's Movie the Podcast. If you look on Spotify, it's Movie the Podcast. At other places, the feed is Molehole Radio because I had a very hard time changing it over. The site that I host is Molehole Radio, and that used to be a whole network of other shows. But yeah, just go the easiest way is Spotify, Movie the Podcast. And we do the thing that we do to differentiate ourselves is not being able to speak properly. No, we do themes every month. So this month is Emilio Estevez because it's May.
Amalio.
Emilio Estevez. So it's all Emilio Estevez movies. Past themes have been Resident April, where we watched all the Resident Evil movies. WW Easter is a popular one where we watch wrestling film movies involving wrestlers. Though we may be retiring it because this past WW Easter really put us through the ringer. So yeah, check out Movie the Podcast. I have a
It's
lot of fun with
hilarious.
the show. It's a
Yeah,
good show.
yeah.
It's not as good as this because this show is very short, and that's the best thing about it.
Even if you get annoyed, listener, like you don't get annoyed for
Oh
too
yeah,
long.
I imagine you're annoyed at all my takes because I hate all the like the sacred cows of horror movies.
We'll
Like,
do a movie again that we enjoy at some
yeah,
point.
I mean, I was hoping that I'd like this one. I was hoping that like like I said, generally speaking, this was like a bounce back movie for people, and they were like positive about it. And me watching, I don't know what the hell you could be positive about.
Yeah.
I posted it online. I there's a my letterbox review was like there's a line in this movie where one of the characters is like fuck this franchise, and I'm like sister, amen. I totally agree. Like,
You want to take
but
a
yeah,
stab? You want to take a stab at what Richard
ah,
Roper gave it?
Oh God, I don't know.
How many out of 4 stars? How many?
He does. They do 4 stars.
Yeah.
He gave it 3.5 stars.
Oh, you were very close. 3 stars.
Three
3
stars.
stars. He said, "What a wonderful ending that was.
He
Outlandish and spectacularly brutal ending of all.
he
Uh,
has historically horrendous
Horrendous.
taste.
Terrible.
It's funny to me. Well, it's kind of sad. Like that guy makes like a very handsome living just having the worst
Worse.
opinions on movies. And like every year, like the Oscar discourse comes into play. Like he has the worst takes. Like he likes the most like he
Yeah.
was a big Green Book supporter. And like I
Mm.
know there's a horror show, but like I watch other movies too. And that movie sucks. Anyway. So anyway, way back to your original question. Number score for this movie. I'm gonna give this a 2.
Yeah.
Because I did like I like the kills, so it's not a 0, but it's real bad. And it was also like arduous to get through. Again, like the run, you really feel the runtime in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's a 2 for me, 2 stabs.
Two st- I'm gonna give it 3.1. The only redeeming quality is the violence in this movie. And not all of it either. Like some of it
Yeah.
was just dumb. But um
Yeah,
yeah,
we didn't say that enough. The characters in this movie are relentlessly stupid. Like
yeah,
all of them. The killers, the victims,
yeah.
everybody's like incredibly stupid.
Of all the movies we have done up to this point on this podcast, this is the worst one I've seen.
Uh, yeah,
Oh no,
yeah.
maybe
No,
Winnie
no,
the
no, no, no,
Pooh.
no, 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 no,
No,
no.
yeah,
Winnie
Winnie
the
the
Pooh
Pooh.
is worse.
Yeah,
The
maybe
Winnie
I
the
need to go
Pooh.
back and change
Yeah,
my number on
Winnie
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh is. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's so fucking
Yeah,
bad.
this is pretty bad.
All right, we're gonna bounce back next week. We're gonna try to watch something good.
Yeah, do you want to?
We'll
Do you have
pick
anything in
something good.
mind?
I don't have anything in mind, but I will get back to you. I
Okay.
should have done more research before I hopped
Yeah,
on, but yeah.
just check out what's ever on the Plex.
Oh, we got tons and tons of stuff. All right, we'll figure out something good, and we'll be back, and we'll see you next week. And don't watch this movie. Just don't watch it.
Don't waste time.
Watch Scary Movie too. It's
Yeah, we're
probably
looking out for you,
funny.
listener.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
See
We
everybody.
didn't get cut off.
Yeah, it's
Hey.
the first. All right, see you, TJ.
All right, dude. See you, buddy.
Bye.